It all started on a rainy afternoon when I was cleaning out my late grandmother's attic. The air was thick with dust and nostalgia, the kind of place where time seemed frozen. I'd gone up there countless times before, but this time was different. Maybe it was the silence of the empty house, or maybe it was the feeling that something was waiting to be found. As I sorted through boxes filled with old books, jewelry, and yellowed letters, I stumbled upon a small wooden chest tucked behind a stack of photo albums. It was locked, but the old key that hung on a nail by the window fit perfectly. Inside, there were dozens of old photographs, black and white, their edges curling with age. But one of them caught my eye. It was a photo of my grandmother standing beside a man I didn't recognize, taken in front of a large farmhouse I'd never seen before. She looked young, maybe in her early 20s, smiling in a way I'd never seen in any other picture. The strange thing was, when I tilted the photo under the light, faint writing appeared across the back, almost invisible unless you looked closely. It read, "Find the truth where the river bends." My first thought was that it was some poetic quote or inside joke, but something about the careful handwriting, and the fact that it had been hidden, made me think it was more than that. I turned the photo over again, staring at the man beside her. My grandmother had always told me my grandfather was her one and only love, but the man in the picture wasn't him. My curiosity turned into unease. Why had she kept this photo hidden? And what was this truth I was supposed to find? That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept returning to that message. When I mentioned it to my mom the next morning, she grew strangely quiet. "Maybe it's nothing," she said, too quickly. But I knew that tone, the kind people use when they're hiding something. After she left for work, I decided to dig deeper. I spent hours looking through old family records, photo albums, anything that could give me a clue. But the man's face was nowhere to be found. Not a single mention of him in any of Grandma's things. Finally, in the corner of an old trunk, I found a folded map of the town. There, near the edge of the paper, was a river, the Willow Creek, and a sharp bend near an abandoned farmhouse. My pulse quickened. The photograph, the message, it was pointing me there. The next day, I drove out to the spot. The road was overgrown, clearly unused for years. When I reached the river bend, there it was. A weathered, forgotten farmhouse that looked eerily similar to the one in the photograph. The place was silent, its roof sagging, windows broken. But the moment I stepped inside, a strange sense of familiarity washed over me. The living room was empty except for a few broken chairs and a fireplace coated in cobwebs. As I explored, I noticed a framed picture on the floor, shattered glass and all. It was the same photo I had found in the attic. My stomach turned. What were the chances? Then I saw something carved faintly into the wooden mantel, the initials H and M. My grandmother's name was Margaret. Could the H have been the man in the photo? I needed to know who he was. I took a picture of the carving and went to the local library to see if I could find any old property records. After hours of searching, I finally found something. The farmhouse once belonged to a man named Henry Collins. According to the records, he died in 1957 under mysterious circumstances. The official cause was listed as accidental drowning in Willow Creek. My grandmother would have been about 23 at that time. My heart was racing. I went home and looked again at the photo. There, just barely visible in the background, was the river. And on closer inspection, I realized something else. There was a faint reflection of someone standing in the water behind them. Someone holding what looked like a camera. I couldn't shake the chill that ran down my spine. It was as if the photograph itself was trying to tell me a story that had been silenced. I decided to confront my mom again. When I showed her the picture and told her what I discovered, she went pale. She sat down heavily on the couch and whispered, "I was hoping you'd never find that." I didn't say anything, waiting for her to continue. She took a deep breath and said, "Henry was your grandmother's first love. They were engaged before she met your grandfather. But something happened. Something terrible." She paused, tears welling up in her eyes. "Your great-grandfather didn't approve of Henry. He thought Henry wasn't good enough for her. The night before they were supposed to elope, Henry disappeared. The police found his body days later in the river. They said he drowned, but your grandmother never believed that." The room was silent except for the ticking clock. My mom continued. She always said there were things she couldn't talk about. I guess she meant this. After that conversation, I couldn't stop thinking about Henry. The photograph, the message, the mysterious reflection. It all felt unfinished. I had to go back to the farmhouse one more time. When I returned, the air was heavy with the scent of rain. I went to the fireplace again, tracing the carved initials with my fingers. That's when I noticed a loose brick near the base. I pulled it out, and behind it was a small metal box wrapped in oilcloth. My hands were trembling as I opened it. Inside were a few letters, neatly tied with string, and a small silver locket. The letters were addressed to "My dearest Margaret," written in elegant cursive. The last one stopped me cold. It was dated the same day Henry died. My love, if you are reading this, it means something has gone wrong. Your father came to see me tonight. He warned me to stay away. Said he'd rather see me dead than see you leave with me. I'm going to the river to wait for you, as we planned. If I don't return, know that I never stopped loving you. The truth will come to light one day. Follow the river, and you'll find me. I sat there in stunned silence, the sound of the river outside echoing like a ghost. My grandmother's secret had been hidden for over 60 years. Not just a tragic love story, but something darker. Her father had likely been involved in Henry's death. As I was about to leave, I noticed something glinting in the corner of the room. It was an old camera tripod half buried under debris. My heart skipped. Could it have been the same one from the photograph? I brushed off the dirt and found initials etched into the metal. H.C. Henry Collins. It was overwhelming. Like I was standing in the middle of history. A story frozen in time that had waited for me to uncover it. When I got home, I showed everything to my mom. She cried for a long time before saying softly, "Your grandmother carried that grief her whole life. Maybe this is her way of finally telling us the truth." Over the next few weeks, I contacted the local authorities to see if any new investigation could be opened. But after so many years, there was little they could do. Still, I felt peace knowing I had found the truth she couldn't speak. We buried the letters with my grandmother's ashes, returning them to the place where her story began, by the river bend. As I placed the locket into the earth, I noticed something else inside it. A tiny folded note. It said, "Thank you for finding him." That S, when I realized the photograph had not just carried a hidden message. It had been her final call for help, a way of reaching out from the past. Maybe she knew someone in our family would one day find it, that someone would care enough to follow the trail. Now, every time I look at that photograph, framed on my desk, I see more than just two people smiling by the river. I see a secret love, a silenced truth, and the courage it took to leave a clue for me to find decades later. The old photograph, hidden message didn't. It just changed how I saw my grandmother. It changed how I saw everything. It reminded me that the past never truly disappears. It waits, quietly, for someone willing to listen.